Automating applications with Microsoft Power Automate Desktop is easy. Today we will be using the Contoso Invoicing app. We want Microsoft Power Automate Desktop to open up this application. Click Invoices. Click New Record. Fill in date, account, contact, amount, and this combo box. It needs to fill in whatever it needs to fill in, for example, invoiced or paid. Finally, it needs to click Save. First, when we have done that, we can progress. Then we can create a loop. For example, we could read in Excel with a lot of records, or we could take it from another system. We will do that later in this guide. We'll progress it step by step. So go open up Power Automate Desktop, create a new flow called Invoicing, and we want to open up the application here. We will do that with a run application, which we will drag in. Here we need an application path. This is an executable for this program to open. We can find it here in this select file picker. Most likely your Contoso Invoicing app will be in the C: here in this PC. Then you will take the program files x86, Contoso Inc., Contoso Invoicing, and pick this executable called Legacy Invoicing App. Then we can hit open. This will open up the program. It will also produce a variable here. This is app process ID. This is a unique identification for this exact instance of Contoso Invoicing App. This means that we can later find this instance of the application. Imagine that we have multiple versions of this application open. So let's keep that in mind. I hit save. Then I can run it, and that will open up the Contoso Invoicing app. Let's close down this, and let's also close down the first instance that we have it open. So now we have no instance open. I also want my flow to be able to close the applications after we have done all the steps. That will be the clicks. But let's do that now. You will close it by finding a terminate process. Drag it in. Here we can either terminate it by name, or we can use the ID. The process ID, if I click here, we already created a variable for that. We can find that by hitting this little blue box and double click the app process ID. Now you see it's a variable, it's within the %sign notation. Then we can hit save. Because this can go a little bit fast, I set a breakpoint by clicking left to the 2. You will see a little red dot. This means that my flow pauses. Breakpoints are perfect when we develop and we want to pause our flow for several reasons. Now click run. You will see Contoso Invoicing app opens. You will also see that we are at a break here. If I click run, you will see it closes down the application. Mission accomplished. Let's remove the breakpoint by clicking again here. And since we actually want this to be open when we build, I right click here and disable action. You can enable it when the flow is done. Then we also want to clean up after ourselves. That will be to close this application. Let's run it again so we have the application open. Now we can start to automate. Here I first want to click the invoices. We do that by going up here and find a click UI element in window. Drag it in after the run application. Here we need to find a UI element, and if I click this drop down, you will see this blue box called Add UI Element. Go click that. Now you will see that with the application open, we can choose a lot of elements, including the entire ones. Also, spaces where we can't really do something, but it's still an element in this. Here. You want to find the invoices. Let's go pick this text. So I hit Control on my keyboard, left click with my mouse. Now we have created our first UI element in this application. I can choose to left click. That's what you want to do like 99% of the time, because we mimic what we humans do, and we probably always or close to always left click, but you can also right click, double click, or whatever you want. We'll go with left click. Click save. Then I also want to hit new record. That will be the next click we want to automate. So I drag this one in. Click this drop down, add UI element, go up here. Here I just take this image, press Control and hit element. We have created another one here. Then I can hit save. Then when we have clicked this invoices, I've clicked the new record, then I want to fill in, that will be the date. So that is another UI element. That is this text field UI element. Make sure it's visible in your application because otherwise you cannot point to it with Power Automate Desktop. Here I will find a Populate text field in window, drag it in after the 2 clicks. The text box, that will be another UI element, so click this drop down, add UI element. Find this date text box, press Control, click with your mouse. Here we need to say what text do we want to fill in to this text box. We can do a lot of things. Let's just take 12, 24, 20, 25, whatever demo date you want to fill in. Then I hit save. Let's go test that this works, because then we have taken our first steps within application automation. We can click invoices. Now it fills in Christmas Eve here and mission accomplished. Let's talk a little bit about how Power Automate Desktop actually finds these UI elements. As you can see, we can click in a lot of places in an application. If I go back here, you can see Power Automate Desktop automatically gave these UI elements a name. You can find them by clicking UI elements over here to the right. So go do that. Here are your 3 names or selectors. These UI elements have automatically created names after their names in the application. As you can see, some of them is a little bit hard to understand. Text invoices, well, that could be okay. Image, that is hard to understand. That was this new record. Edit text box is also hard because this is the date. It could have been the account or the email. First of all, we want to rename these better. That is because it's much easier to see what your UI elements do when you come back. Then you will have a great name. It's fairly easy to distinguish them from each other. It will also make your flow more readable, so please do that. That is the best practice. It seems boring in the beginning because you can just drag things in and everything works, but please do it now and make it a habit of always renaming your UI elements. Here, let's right-click the first one, say rename, and I could call this button invoices, like this. Let's take this new record as well, rename, let's call this button new record. And finally, let's have this be an input. So I right click, rename, input, and then we can say date. Behind these names, this is just a shelf. As you can see, we also updated the name here when we updated over here. Behind this shelf, there's also an address which we call a selector. Try to double click your first UI element, that is the button invoices. Here below, you will see the selector. This is like an address if I send a postcard to someone. Now it's just an address of where I want to send my UI action. That could be a click, or I want to fill in text, right click, or whatever I want here. This is the address. This is the selector. We call the last element in the selector. That is, you will see this larger than everything here. That is the child element or the main identifier. This text is an element, and this class is an attribute, and this is an attribute value. The next level, we call that a parent to the child. We will have that here. You can also see we have another element here that will be the tree item. Now we have 2 attributes. Then the parent element is the tree item with another 2 ones, and it goes all the way up to the ancestor, which is this. This is a selector. Here I can, in this tree, you can see class text block. That will be this attribute here. I can play with it. Usually when things work, you don't want to do it, but sometimes you need to do it because Power Automate Desktop can't create the selector automatically. Therefore, we need knowledge about this selector. First of all, the most important one is the selector unique? That is, does this address always send the click to the invoices? We don't want a selector where it's confusing where the click is sent. Imagine that two elements have the same address. That is, if it's not unique enough. We also want it to be stable. That is, some applications vary, so they can open up and then suddenly there's no attribute with no class attribute with a text block value. So we also want to make sure of that. And finally, we want to make it simple. That is, we want it as simple as possible as long as it is unique and stable. Let's play a little bit about this tree view. As you can see here, each item here in the tree view, that is one item here. So the first one is called tree view. It has a class equal to tree view, ID equal to folder selector. You will find that up here. If I go to the child, I can see something I might could use. That will be the attribute called name equal to invoices. Go click that and then unclick this class. Now you see we changed the attribute down here. Right now it works, so this is only practice, but please do it. You will learn so much faster. Then I can try to untick all of this. So what I want to know, is this stable? Probably because the Contoso Invoicing app never changed. Then is it unique enough? Probably because the name is now invoices. And is it simple? Yes. So I can test it. I can click this test here, hit test. Now you will see that it tries to find it in the Contoso Invoicing app, and it couldn't find it. So how come? Was this a bad selector? No. Let me just close one of these and open up the other one. As you can see, once we have clicked the new record here, we will have a little star here. This means that it's tried to find this invoices probably, and now it's with another name value. So if I just say save, now you can see we definitely have an invoices. Let's try to go test it now, and then you will see that it becomes green, hopefully. Here we will test it. Now you can see it finds it and it becomes green. Green means that your selector is good. We can use that. So that was a little practice of this. I can hit save. Then I also want to have this new record. Double click to open it. Could I change this? Probably we can play a little bit around with this, and probably we don't need all of this. For now, we just let it be, and it's also working. Then this input date, double click to open it. Here you will see that in the child we have an ID called text date 103. Probably there will be no other elements with a name called edit and an attribute called ID text date 103. Usually you want to use IDs because they are fairly unique. The developers behind this application, or if it was a website, use ID which are unique. So let's try to use that. I'll go to the child, disable this class. I will try to move all these away here. Now we just have an edit, ID text date 103. Then in your Contoso Invoicing app, make sure you are in the invoices. We hit a new record, so it's visible here. Now we can test it. I want to see it goes green again, that it can actually find this date field. Here you see it becomes red after a few seconds, and we have check mark. So far, so good. I can hit save. So for now, when we added all these UI elements, we dragged in an action, find the UI element. We can actually add UI elements pretty much faster. That will be using this add UI element. Here you can see I can start adding things. First, we want the account field. So press Control on your keyboard, click the account. That was the first one here. Then you want the contact. So Control, hit contact. I also want the amount. Control, amount. Then I want this combo box or drop down. So control, click it here. And finally, I also want to automate this save up here. So control, click this one here. Then we have all the UI elements. Then I just need to find the actions and I can use these. Of course, I also need a little bit of selector work here, as you can see. Now you see why we want to rename them, because they got edit text box 2, 3. So it doesn't really say something about what's in it. Let's click done here, and let me actually also close this Contoso Invoicing app because we will open it here. Now I go over here. Let's first rename them. So this was the first element. That was, if I open it up, I can see this was the account. Again, I will just go to the last element, do this. We assume that this edit ID text account 103 works. Otherwise, please just open up Contoso Invoicing app and test it again. I hit save. I also know then that this is the input account, like this. As you can see, this image is a little bit hard to see because there's no text. Then we want the next one, double click to open it. This is the contact email. We'll do the same. Don't worry, we will test that approach works. Since we are a little bit lazy sometimes, let's just copy the contact email. Control C, save it. Then we go here, right click, input, Control V, the contact email, hit enter. Then we have this text box that was the amount. So if I double click here, and then you can see we have the amount. Let's do the same thing, remove all this, remove the class, and then we just have the amount. Lazy again, Control C, save, right click, rename, input. And yes, these renames, they can seem rather silly and time consuming, but you will get happier once you become a more experienced RPA developer, I promise. Then we have this combo box. Well, that was the status, probably okay. I can right click rename instead of combo box. We will call it combo box status. We will not do something about this, but again, you could choose to just have the ID here. Then finally, the image, that was the save, rename, button, save. Feel free to edit these UI elements, the selectors, that will benefit you a lot. But now we want to proceed because we still need to, right now we have only filled in the date. Then I want the account. So find another populate text field in window. Here we will drag it down, and then you want to find this input account. Hit select. You see it's easy to pick because we have renamed it well. And what do I want in here? Let's just have the Contoso LTD for now. We will change it once we want to process multiple items into our application, but again, one step at a time. Then we want to fill in the contact. Take this, scroll a little bit down. Now we have the contact. Here I can take the billing at contoso.com, save. Then we want an amount. And I do this. And we will find the input amount. Hit here, and here just take some random number, 1250. Then we want to interact with this drop-down. I do that by having a set drop-down list value in window. We will have that underneath. The drop-down list, that is also known as a combo box, we have named it well, so it's very easy to find. Hit select here. We don't want to clear options. I want to select option by name. Try to say paid here. Again, this we will vary once we come to the point where we want to process multiple items. Save. Finally, we want to hit save. So I find a click UI element window here. UI element, save, do like this. Now let's just save the flow in case something goes down, and then we can test it. We also have a run delay of 100 milliseconds on this flow, that is 0.1 second. We want to make it a little bit faster. So go down here and say 1. There's a good reason that we have a run delay. This is the delay between each action. That is so we can see what's going on once we develop. Once we move this into production or simply just start it from the overview, then there will be no delay. But let's just see that we can automate it so far. Then we click the invoices, Automate Desktop, click the date, fill in some date, fill in an account, Contoso, contact, billing Contoso, amount, here, and we want it to be paid and save. So we could do this, but perfect. You can now automate an application. Then we want to combine it. We want to extract data from another system, that could be invoicing data, and fill it into this. And we want to extract multiple data. For this, I have prepared this page, an invoice portal. For you to get access to it, it's either in the lesson files or there's a link to get access to it below. Here I want to extract all these columns. We will go back here. So what I want to do is to first grab the URL of this page, that here, Control C, and then I want to have a launch new Chrome or Edge if I use that like I do. I will do it before here because we will extract the data before we do the application work. So here you will find a launch Microsoft Edge and drag it in the beginning. In the URL, you can just have a Control V to paste it in. This will create a browser instance. We can refer to that when we want to automate this browser, which we will because we want to extract data from it. Then you want to find and extract data from web page. Make sure you take this one and not extract data from window. So go down here and drag it in after your launch new Microsoft Edge or Chrome if you prefer that. Now we need to open up our web page to activate the extraction wizard. So go find your invoicing portal. I can just drag it to the side. Then you want to pick the first item where you want to extract things from. So here I right click, extract element value, and pick this text. Now I can click with the mouse. Pick the second element. So right click, extract, do like this, boom. Power Automate Desktop recognizes that here's a pattern. We have now extracted the first column. Then go to the next column you want to extract. That could be this. Right click, Contoso, boom. I just need to do it on the first element in each column now because Power Automate Desktop already detected here's a pattern. Right click, do it like this, and finally this. Now we have all columns. Right now the column names is named value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you click here and write date, press tab or simply just click value 2, name, email, amount, and status. So then you can click finish and you will see that a variable is getting produced. This is a data table. A data table is a variable, convenient because it's very fast to work with. You could also store it in Excel, but we probably always want to store it in a variable, or really rarely that are stored directly in Excel. That is because we always want to do some processing, and here we don't even want to involve Excel. So let's just call this invoice data. Hit save. Now I want to test it. I know that all of this works, so I can set a breakpoint again here. That means that only the first 2 steps runs. So here I can run, open up Edge. Then I want to see that Power Automate Desktop can extract the data. You can see it went into the third action. And over here you can actually see we have 10 rows and 5 columns. I can close this, stop the flow. I can choose to remove this. And if I go over to the invoice data and double click, I now have my data extracted. For some reason, it's says date, name, email, amount, and status with a non-capital. Doesn't matter. It's not case sensitive. But now we have the columns and all our data. We can start processing them. So what do we actually want to do? I want to make a loop. I want to loop this data table, all these rows, and process them into our system. It's the same thing that we do over and over, so we just need to repeat it some quite large amounts, and we have some different statuses as well. Let's close it. So what do I want to do here? I want to iterate a collection. And what do I want to repeat for each one of these steps? You could argue that since we are in invoices in the Contoso Invoicing app, I can just hit new record over and over. However, we will just automate this click as well, so we make sure that we are in invoices. All the other things as well, we input, we fill in the drop down, and we hit save. And I can close this instance. So you want to find a for each. A for each loop iterates a collection from start to finish. Sometimes you just need to click here to expand, and then you will find for each. Drag it in here after the run application. So what do I want to iterate? That will be the invoice data. Go hit invoice data here. And what do I want to store it into? This is just a reference name for where we are in the iteration. I will say current invoice again. We name our variables well, so they say something about the data they hold. That will make your flow more maintainable, another best practice. Then you can hit save. Now we want all of these inside this for each. We could mark them and drag them in. Another way would be to click the end so it becomes a little bit more green than the other ones, and simply just dragging it here. Then we have them inside. So right now, if we ran this, then it will iterate all these 10 rows, but it will just fill in the date, the Contoso limit, and the same amount. We don't want that. We want them to be dynamic. And that is, we want the data from the iteration in the invoice data, and this is actually in the current invoice. So let's start by opening up the date. Let's delete this date. Hit this X and say current invoice. Then this will be a data row. So this will be the date, account, contact, email, amount, and status. We don't want that. So go in after the E, have a hard bracket, a single quotation mark, say date. Like this, single quotation mark, hard bracket end. Then it will only be the cell in the current row, that will be the current invoice, we named it that, from the date column. Again, we're lazy, so mark it, Control-C, say save. Then let's go double click the account. Delete the Contoso Limited, Control-V, and then it's not the date here. That was the name. Hit save. Again, the name comes from this invoice data. We named it name. You could have named it otherwise. Moved inside the contact email, mark it, Control-V, and here we call this one mail, save. Do it the same with amount. Amount like this, and finally the status. So it's not paid anymore. It's the status. Hit save. Now we can test it. Then I will click run here. This will open up the invoice portal. This will go rather quick. Then I want to see that I can hit invoice, I can hit new record, and now you will see that we start to process the data from the system. Really, really nice. We will just see that it works with another record as well. Save. Then we hit new invoice, the new record, and then you will see it takes the Northwind Traders. That will be the second item from the system. Congratulations, you have built a solution that works. Let's fast forward and let's make it even more advanced. And this is the last iteration. So the automation works. We can process all 10 items, or if we had 100 and 200, this works, you have built a stable automation. We can make it a bit more maintainable and easy to read. Once this is done, let me close here and close here. Because these four guys here, we could group them together and make what we call a dynamic selector. A very important concept which I want you to learn. Even though that this works, please do this with me. Open up Power Automate Desktop, your solution, and do what I do now and try to think of what we're doing. You will learn so much. Let's go to UI elements again. So we want to group these together. And let's try to double click the input date. Here you will see that we have the text date. So we have a text date 103. If I double click the account, we have a text account 103, contact email, text contact email 103, and finally the amount, text amount 103. So here it's just this amount or date or whatever we have that varies. So instead of creating 4 selectors, we could just create one, a dynamic selector, where we iterate through these names. Let's try to do it. And yes, this is the most advanced part of our exercise now. So we know that instead of 4 here, I just want 1. Let's do it for each, where we iterate a list with these 4 names. We do that first. We can use this for each that we had from before, otherwise search for it. What do I want to iterate? Now I will create a list, and we also practice what we learned in the variable section. So I have 2 percentage signs, then I have a hard bracket in the start and in the end. Then in single quotation marks, I say, what do I want here? That will be the date. Actually, this was like this. Comma, you can have a space, it gets ignored, so either you will have it or not, doesn't matter. Then we have the account, make sure you spell it right. Contact email, like this, and amount, like this. So comma separated in single quotation marks. Then let's call this one the current field. Like this, and save. If you get an error here, that's because you probably forgot a comma or a single quotation mark. Go back and make sure you did what I do, rewind the video. Then I just need one of these populates. We will move it in here. We will change this in a while. These 3 guys here, you don't need them. You can delete them or simply just right click, disable actions. In a flow, you move into production. You don't want disabled actions, but for this is okay because we practice, and you might want to save these 3 guys here. And then we want to look at the input date selector. So go over to your UI elements, click this UI element stack if you don't see it. First, this is the input date. Let's right click, rename, since this will be our input field, for example, like this. Then we rename this so it says input field here. Double click to open it. Now you see that we want this part to vary. What I want to do is to go up to text editor. Then I can mark it for simplicity. I could say backspace or delete it. To delete it, go up here into the X, double click the current field. We have now used a variable in the selector. This is also known as a dynamic selector. Then we hit save. So this is good, but if we run this, then you will see that this will just input the date in each of these 4 fields. So we need to change that, and here we will introduce a helper variable, because if I go up and look at my variables, up here you will have the current invoice that was from the last run. We have 5 columns, and here I can say go first, take the first column, that will be column index 1. Then add 1 to it, take name, add 1, add 1, add 1. So for each one of these current invoices, each one of these fields, we want to add 1 to it. Then we will have it. And here you want to make sure that we don't use the status, because that is not a part of this for each. So we will just do it 4 times. We can do that with a little helping variable. Let's find a set variable. It's again hidden here. Make sure you place it before the for each. Let's call this one column index. Let's give it the value 0. Let's increase it. So first one, that will take the column index of 0 of this current invoice, or we will have it in a little while. That is fine. And then we want the next column here. So I want an increase variable. Have it down here. And yes, this can seem a little bit too much for this solution, but this is also to teach you a very important concept. So please don't skip this. So find the column index and increase it with 1. Now we can use it in here. So we can use the column index of the current invoice. We can start to double click here. And instead of date, make sure you delete everything, hit this X and choose the column index. You will also need to remove these two, and that's it. There you have your solution. We have these disabled. Let's save the flow again before we test it. So right now we saving. We could add the terminate process as well. We could enable that because then we can see everything works. So right click, enable action. Let's try to run it. What I want to see here again, we know that this works. We can extract this data. Then we will open up the Contoso Invoicing app. We will do the first click. Now it gets exciting. Could we fill data into the date field? Looks like it. Could we fill into the account? Looks like it. The contact? Yes. Amount? Yes. And the combo box. We hit save. We have a new record. Click invoice first, new record. Fill in the 62525. Congratulations, you have now mastered another very important concept in this applications in Populate desktop lesson, which is the dynamic selector. Let's fast forward once more. And here we are having the last one. And we even closed the app. Congratulations. Your next Power Automate desktop video is right here. I'm looking forward to teach you more important concepts. See you.